I'll be with you in just a moment. I just need to complete one more minor task. There. All done. I am Technician ELO. What can I do for you? This is the hydroponics section. Are you perhaps lost? Ah, you're looking for the pressure suit maintenance depot. No, you're in the right location. We don't have a lot of the habitat under pressure yet, so the higher-ups decided to combine the hydroponics and suit repair facilities into the same section. I happen to be the outpost hydroponics expert, as well as the chief pressure suit repair tech. Since we're still a relatively small outfit, I get to wear both hats. So, what can I do for you? Suit repair, of course. Just follow me. The repair facility is in the other end of this section. We'll have to pass through the hydroponics area, but it's not a long walk. I could give you a tour later, if you like, but there's not a lot to see on just a quick walk through. We have a lot of the growing area devoted to hybrid bamboo, and it grows very densely along the walkways, so you won't be able to see much as we pass through. Can you tell me the general nature of the damage to your suit? Slashes and punctures to the left shoulder and back. You think? You're not sure? Oh, right, because you can't see them. Go on. So you cut the sharp edges of the end of a support strut that was moving toward you? That's usually how that happens. It is important to be aware of heavy objects moving in your working area. Who was it that put the emergency patch on your suit? Your crew boss. Let me guess. Chief Blackstone? Tall, broad, rather huge, green skin and a gold-capped tusk? Wears a black-tinted pressure suit with green stripes down the sides? He probably saved your life. Damage to the back of a pressure suit can be very difficult to self-patch. Zero-gravity construction work has come a long way since the early days of Hightower Corporation and its first mega-structures in Earth orbit, but it's still not entirely safe, and accidents can absolutely happen, as you found out firsthand today. Here we are. I guess you could call this the pressure suit maintenance department. It's really just the section where a lot of the suit repair materials got dumped when this part of the station was first put under pressure and atmosphere. Sit down over here, please, on the stool by the workbench. Oh, yes. Most of the furniture, and a lot of the walls and doors in the living quarters, they are all made of bamboo from this section. We use a lot of bamboo here. It's edible when it first starts growing. It grows fast, and it helps to filter the water in the hydroponics facility, as well as helping to scrub CO2 from the air supply. It's not the most efficient way of doing that, but it does reduce the power draw somewhat on the station's NTG power plants. Most of the hydroponics section is devoted to tanks of bamboo, with gene-tailored algae and mutant carp growing alongside. That's the basis for much of the food on offer in the cafeteria, as I'm sure you've had a chance to become accustomed to. Alright now, turn on the stool so you're facing the workbench, and that way I can have better access to your shoulder and back. I'm going to start peeling off this emergency patch. It might take a bit of time. Speaking of getting used to the food here, how long have you been here at Echo-6? Only a month. You must have been part of the contingent of sleepers on the last crew transfer from the Neptune colonies. Were you at Neptune for long? I see. What did you do while you were there? Really? I remember when that project was started. I had just transferred to here from the Neptune's Trident project when that was winding down. Did you ever work on the Trident? That's a bit surprising. For at least 10 years, the Trident was the project in cis-Neptunian space. A massive megastructure, the Trident. The largest man-made artifact in the solar system. 1,000 kilometers long. No less than 10 fusion reactors along the entire length. All for the purpose of moving raw and refined materials from trans-Neptunian space into the inner system, including the ices and volatiles we mine here at Echo-6. This part of the patch does not seem to want to come loose. There. Sometimes these patches do their job a little too well. They're meant to be temporary and easy to apply in an emergency, but they're only temporary and need to be removed to make way for a permanent repair patch. Now, let's see what sort of damage this patch has been covering up. For starters, there's been a lot of the surface layer scraped off, the layer that helps protect against ambient background radiation. It's easy enough to replace, though. That's a very striking purple tint you chose for the outside layer of your suit, by the way. It's going to be difficult to match it with the supplies we have available, but I'm sure we'll manage. I can actually see the imprint here of the end of the beam that struck you. It looks like there are some impact abrasions in several places. Surprisingly, I don't see any apparent damage to the heating and cooling elements anywhere. And this is what I expected to find. I see 3 distinct perforations through to the inner layer of the pressure suit, and each of them is discolored by a little bit of what I am pretty sure is blood. 3 complete punctures right to your skin. You got lucky. Are you feeling any particular pain in the area of the suit damage? Just feels like a bad bruise? I suppose that's better than sharp stabbing pain. Still, you'd better have it looked at. Let me see if Dr. Whitechapel is available at the moment. Paging Dr. Whitechapel.
Whitechapel. Who calls?
Technician ELO. Hydroponics. Are you busy at the moment?
Not really, no. Is something the matter?
Nothing pressing. I have a new crewmate with me, just come in for suit repairs. They've got some impact punctures through their suit, probable skin damage and some bruising. I'm currently patching the suit, but if you have time to come over and have a look at them, it will be much appreciated.
I'll pop right over. I'm assuming I'll need to suit up for this.
Yes, Dr. Whitechapel. For some reason, both the A and B corridors to either side of the hydroponics section are still under vacuum, though Chief Blackstone assures me his crew will have B corridor fixed by next week.
I'm on my way then. Whitechapel out.
And while the doctor is making his way from his domain to my own, I'll see about getting these punctures repaired. That's actually something I can do without taking the suit off of you, by the way. In fact, it's better if it's done while the suit is on you, so that the proper body contours can be followed by the suit repair fluids. They won't stick to you, though. This stuff has a tailored affinity for the materials used in pressure suits, and won't bond to skin or clothing fibers. You just sit tight there for a moment, and I'll get the necessary materials. I've got an assistant back here, somewhere. Hey, Redvine, wake up in there. Would you dig out one of the new suit diagnostic units? You know the ones. We've got a new crewmate who's gotten their first taste of the horrors of vacuum work. Bring it over once you've got it prepared. I've got the suit patching goop right here, and my assistant will be fetching up some other necessary apparatus presently. Hopefully we should have everything set in order by the time the doctor arrives to look at what's going on beneath that damaged section. This is a mimetic pseudopolymer. It's going to seep into the material all around the compromised parts of your suit and bond with any damaged edges it finds in the weave of the suit layers. You might perceive a sensation of heat as it spreads out and then sets, but it should only take a few minutes to bond and harden. If you would lean forward over the workbench and hunch your shoulders a little. That will flatten out any wrinkles in the immediate area. And here we go. Try not to move around and I'll have this finished as soon as I can. You said you'd only been here on Echo-6 for a month or so, yes? Has anyone told you about the ghost ship? No? That's a bit surprising. This would have been about 6 weeks before you arrived here. The ice mining complex's radar array picked up a slow-moving object that appeared to be headed almost directly toward the Echo-6 main rotating habitat. When it was close enough for a visual confirmation, we discovered that it was not an ice ball or chunk of rock like we'd expected it to be. It was a derelict ship, a refitted cargo handler, SCH Cassandra, just drifting our way. It took a couple of weeks to drift close enough that we could send out a crew bus and actually get inside to have a look. What we found inside was a bit unsettling. There was no sign of the crew anywhere on the ship, and no sign of what might have happened to them. The shipboard AI was inoperative, and the common activity logs showed nothing after a scheduled standard pressure suit drill that was dated about 7 months ago. Most of the ship was depressurized, except for the engineering and hydroponics section. So when we got done looking around all the nooks and crannies of the ship, and not finding even any mice, the station commander decided we could legally exercise salvage rights. Naturally, we took out everything that wasn't bolted down, and we got a lot of the bolts unfastened too. The station commander will probably end up keeping the Cassandra as an additional resource for the ice mining complex. We can use her to help move things around between the outlying stations and the resource pool. No one on the station seems to be overly stressed about what happened to the Cassandra, or rather what happened to her crew. Like I said, there was no trace of them. No bodies, no blood, nothing. The whole ship looked as clean as if it had just left the construction yards. But what we couldn't figure out, we didn't let bother us. For pretty much everyone, after we cleaned out all the salvageable stuff, it was back to business as usual. I even got to go over to the Cassandra myself and help to salvage all of the hydroponics equipment she had aboard. That was somewhat of a chore. You see, with no one to tend to it, the plants and algae vets got a bit out of control. There, that should do it. The mimetic pseudopolymer should be fully bonded and set in another 30 seconds or so. I'm going to do a quick pressure test to make sure that there are no smaller punctures that I missed, or something else unexpected, like a faulty seal somewhere else in your suit. If you would please put on your suit helmet again and seal it. I'm going to attach this pressure gauge and testing canister to the intake port on your suit. Red Vine, we're almost ready for that diagnostics unit, if you've gotten it ready. All sealed up and ready? Okay. I'm going to pressurize your suit to 15 psi and then slowly bring it up a few more psi, just to test the strength of the repairs. It won't take long, but the pressure may be slightly uncomfortable. Are you ready? I think they're coming around. Set the container with the symbiote on the workbench, please, Red Vine. How's your voice doing, by the way? Any improvement? Well, perhaps the doctor can take a look at you when he gets here, after we've fixed up our new recruit. Are you awake now, crewmate? You're probably going to have a headache for a while. It's a side effect of the overpressure in your suit. But there wasn't any other way to dose you quickly and knock you out. It had to be done this way. But now you're awake, though you'll remain paralyzed for at least an hour or so. Anestifene gas has that effect on most people. Back to my story about the hydroponics equipment. The entire hydroponics section aboard the Cassandra was overgrown from months of not being tended to. So when Chief Blackstone and I went to see about repressurizing the ship and moving all the hydroponics equipment down here, we had quite a job of cutting through all that vegetation. And when we finally got to the main algae tanks, we found there was something growing inside one of them. A few somethings, in fact. There was some sort of fleshy mass, covered in what looked like tendrils or tentacles. There were dozens of little free-swimming worm-like things, similar in appearance to the tentacles on the main mass. And there was a human body. Dead, we thought at first. But then it moved, and we leaned over the tank for a closer look. The body was attached by the mouth and nose to some sort of fleshy protuberance coming out of the main mass in the tank. It looked almost like breathing equipment. We didn't know what to make of it at all. Then the eyes opened. Implantation might have gone differently for Blackstone and myself if we'd had our suit helmets on then, but we didn't. One of the worm things leapt out of the tank and got Blackstone right in the mouth. I was hit in the eye by a tendril from the main fleshy mass, what we've taken to calling the mother tissue. The next few moments, but no, you'll get to experience that for yourself in just a moment. Best not to worry you too much by describing it. In this container here on the bench beside you, I've got one of those same worm symbiotes from the hydroponics tank we found the body in. By the way, that body turned out to be no less a personage than the missing captain of the Cassandra himself. My new assistant, Redvine. He's quite pleased to meet you, I'm sure. The mother tissue had been keeping him alive inside the hydroponics tank while it waited for something. It did an excellent job of maintaining him, although it's done something to his voice which is taking quite some time to heal. We moved the tanks and the mother tissue down here to the hydroponics section of the main Echo-6 habitat. Redvine's presence, of course, we've kept secret from any members of the station crew who have not already been implanted. We are working our way through the entire crew roster at Echo-6, and from there we'll eventually implant the rest of the ice mining operation. After that, who knows? But for now, the only real concern is to make sure that you are quickly and cleanly implanted with your very own symbiote from the mother tissue. The reason we've immobilized you with the anastaphene gas is so that you won't struggle or otherwise cause damage to yourself or the symbiote during the implantation process. The process of implantation can have one of two general results, or so we've come to understand from the implantations we've performed so far. If the symbiote enters the body through the eye sockets, it makes its way into the skull, where it establishes connections to the host's brain and begins augmenting certain of the brain's abilities. We call this type of host an infiltrator. If the symbiote enters through the mouth or the nostrils, something else happens. The symbiote settles itself underneath the liver, and while still establishing connections to the host's brain, its primary effect is the creation of new organs and orifices in the soft area of the abdomen. The most notable of these organs is a large, fleshy mouth that can seamlessly blend with the surrounding flesh and appear normal to a casual inspection. But it can also open itself to the full width of the abdomen. Contained within the mouth is a long, coiled, tongue-like appendage that can extend to a length of nearly 3 meters. It is prehensile along its entire length, and possesses a tip that can pierce entirely through a human body encased in a pressure suit. We call this other type of host a stalker. And I believe I hear Dr. Whitechapel coming to join us. Dr. Whitechapel, we were just about to... Ah, Crewman Cien. What can I do for you?
I came in here to check on the cat with the punctured suit. Chief Blackstone sent me in to see how they're doing. Is that them on the table?
Yes, we were just about to do a pressure test on the surface patch I've applied.
They don't look all that great. They fall asleep with their eyes open or something? Hey, who's this guy staring at me like I owe him something? He a lab assistant? I don't recognize him.
We've had a new influx of crewmates from the last crew transfer from Neptune. Naturally, there are some new faces here on the station.
If you say so. I don't like the look of him, though. Yeah, you, buddy. I'm talking about you. Yellow, are you sure that new fish is okay? They still ain't moved since I've been in here. It's almost like their sweet baby Jesus, what the hell is that thing in the jar by their head?
Redvine, take him.
What the? Fucking hell!
Regrettable, but necessary to avoid more complications. Redvine, please take crewman Cien's body and feed it to the mother tissue. Then see to cleaning up whatever mess is left in here. I'll see to the implantation. My apologies, crewmate. I really didn't mean for this to drag out as far as it has. It's not how this process usually goes. You'll feel much better about this after your symbiote has fully integrated itself into your body. I'm going to place the symbiote onto your face now. It will decide for itself how it will enter into your body, and in turn, what sort of host you will develop into.
Technician Yellow, are you in your workshop?
Yes, Dr. Whitechapel. Come right over. Redvine, the doctor is here. Come and join us when you've finished your task. Dr. Whitechapel, meet the newest member of our growing community, and our newest stalker.
We're glad to have you here, crewmate. You're one of us now.
They're still experiencing the effects of the anastophene gas I dosed them with, but they appear to be suffering no ill effects.
Were there any complications during implantation?
Not directly. We were interrupted at one point by crewman Cian, and unfortunately I had to instruct Redvine to eliminate him. It was quick and clean, at least.
That's a shame. Cian would have made a fine addition to our second wave expansion plan.
We'll have to call an emergency meeting later to put together a plausible narrative regarding what happened to crewman Cian. Chief Blackstone will likely have some useful input, but I think we will probably present a story of a vacuum-related incident. Faulty seal on the helmet, perhaps.
Quite right, quite right. For now, while the anastophene is still keeping you immobile, crewmate, let's get your pressure suit peeled off and have a look at your body. We're all very concerned that you be in the best of health. And after that, when you have rediscovered your limbs, we'll talk about how things are going to proceed on the station, now that you're among the implanted.
We all work together here, you know, to serve the will of the mother tissue.